Hello, today we're going to try to resolve the test number one. So we'll start with the question number one, of course, which is create a non-deterministic finite automaton that recognizes the language one concatenation zero star union zero. So as we start, we're gonna start creating each one of the numbers what we're looking for, such as we're having the same information as this one. So we have to start with the ones 0 1 1 as 1 1 0 0. So as we're starting with the star, and with the star concatenation one, what are we going to do? It's we're gonna Oh my god, sorry about it. So as we're starting, we're gonna have to quit the start state, have a new one, create as a final state, incore the zero, and then also connect it to their final state. And as we're having a concatenation in one, we first have to put or one number with an epsilon and then with the start state. This is how we're starting with 1 0 star. After that, we have to do the one concatenation zero star. So what we're easily going to do, it's going to add a new one, which is the one with the with epsilon, which is doing the concatenation of this one. And finally, we have to do the union, which is one concatenation zero star or zero, which is really easy because what we should start doing is give us a start state. This is not a final state or a step state. This is just a 0, a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we're having a start state with two epsilons connected to 1 and then to 3, which is the 0 of the length of the number we're having trying to do with the state transition diagram, my bad. And then we have the 2, which is connected to the one concatenation 1 0 star, which is the final state, which is this one. And then I'm creating some examples in which will be accepted. And as we see, our 3 is accepted, or 7 is accepted, and or 9 is accepted. So for number 2, what do we have to do? It's convert the non-descriptional finite automaton into a descriptive finite automaton, which is it's not hard. It's tricky to do. So what we're starting to do, it's letting know that 0 1 2 are start state because those ones have the epsilon. So what I'm trying to do here is I have my 0 1 2 and trying to be from 0 which ones I'm going to do. So for 0, if I receive a 0, I should go to 1 and I should go to 2, but also should go to 3 because it has a 0. So it should be 1, 2, and I forgot to put the 3 here. My bad. Fine. After that, I have the 1. So when I'm in 1, what should I do? So when I'm in 1 and I receive a 0, what should I do? I should go to 3. And when I'm in 2 and I receive a 0, what should I do? I should go directly to sync. So it should be 0, 1, and 3, which is 0, 1, and 3 here. Those ones doesn't import because I already have 1 here, so it should be repeated. And we're doing for every single one of them. So we're creating 1, 2, 3, and then we're finding the states, and then we're going to 1, 2, and 4 to find the states. And then when we're going in 3, we found that 3 it's in sync because it doesn't have any 0 or 1s connected to any words any other state transition. So what we should always go directly to sync, which should be the sync one, which should be here should be my final state transition diagram, which I think it's kind of tricky because of the 0, 1, 2, and the 1, 2, and 3, and the 7, 8, and 9, and the 7 and 8, and 6, 7, and 8. But as we see, as once we have a straight accepted transition from 9, 7, and 3, every state that has a 3 or 7 or 9 should be passing. So a 7 and 8 passes because he has 7. 7, 8, and 9 it passes because it has 7. 1, 2, and 3 it passes because it has a 1. 3 passes by itself because it's a 3 and it's this accepted transition that we already have. And the sync shouldn't be passing because obviously it's sync. So I think trying to be as fast as I can. Right now, what we're going to do is do the number 3, which I'll quote, convert the following finite automaton into a corresponding regular expression. That's kind of tricky also. So let me find it out. It's here. If you don't get my idea and anything, feel free to send me an email, send me a message, or send me or call me if you need anything else. So we're going to number. So for number 3, we're having an automaton that has 3 states, Q1, Q2, and Q3, and it's giving us that the automaton has 3 states. The starting state, which is also final state, and also the third state, which is a set state also. And it says when you see a 0 in Q1, you go directly to Q3, which is here. So when you have a Q3 and you see a 1, you go directly to Q1, which is this one. If you see a Q1, if you see a 1 and you're in Q1, you're going to Q2. If you're having a 1, you go in. You're having a 1 and you're in Q2, you're having to go to Q3. And so if you're in Q3 and you're having a 0, you're having to go to Q2, and you have a T2, you have a 0, you have to go to Q1. So what we have to start in order to do a regular expression, as I remember, I'm trying to read a regular expression. Yeah, I'm fine. So what you have to do is you have to create a start state, which will be connected to your first your star state, your old star state, and finally you have to turn down your two accept states, and you have to connect it into one final state. So what I did here is pretty much the same, but I reduced the work in this one because, as we know, Q1 is already connected to the final state, and also Q3 is connected to Q1, which is already connected to the final state. So that can simplify everything. So after we did that, we have to queue the Q2, which I'll write better here. When you're having a Q2, so this is kind of tricky. So as we know, Q1 it's sending to Q2 1 and receiving 0. So we should be 1 and 0. But as we going in Q3, we having a 0 and getting a 1. So it should be 0 and 1. And the connection between them should be 0, 1, 1 and 1, 0, 0. Because you have 2 1s here and you have 2 zeros here, and you're receiving a 1 and you're receiving a 0. That's why I'm putting 0 plus 1 1 and 1 plus 0 0. It's not 11, it's 1 1. So after erasing the Q2, we should sorry, I'm giving it a little bit better. As we go into Q2, we have to Q3, which will be all the ones that we have. It's 0 plus 1 1, 1 plus 0 0, and 0 1. So what are we going to do? It's our 0 1 has to be a star because it's the connection to Q1. and after that you only have to concatenate 0 plus 1 1 and 1 plus 0 0, so it should be that one. But also you have your 1 0, which is the connection in the loop into Q1. So what are we going to do? We are going to erase the Q1 because we're not allowed to move a start state and final state because it's obvious, the final and the start state. So to erase that one, you have to do the epsilon in slides 1 0 because it's the one you already have. But here it's tricky because it has to be with the starts. However, as we're going to do the stars at the final, because we're erasing these two epsilons, we should erase that one because it's an algebraical expression and should be final by that 1 0, which is from the Q1, and the rest from Q3 to Q3, which was 0 1 1 1 0 0 0 1 1 star, which is because we're having a star at the end. And also, as we're going to have this one, we should erase the 0 1 star, and that should be fine for it. And you should be fine right now. Oh, as my bad, you're not allowed to do that because in here you have encapsulated here, and it's already multiplying to each other. But here you're adding because you're only erasing the last one. So yeah, my bad. So that one should be a star, and that one couldn't be a star because you're already multiplying here. So I was fine right here. So finally, for number 4, which is the proof of the language A to the power n, B to the power m should be a regular language. So we have a to the power n and b to the power m, which n has to be greater or equals than 0, but m has to be greater than n. This is the tricky part. So as we're seeing here, we have to see that the 2p, because we have to convert into a regular language, which we have to believe that this language is accurate. So what are we going to do here is that b has to be y and a has to be xy, because as we're seeing to the three laws, y has to be greater than 0, which is this one, 2p, and the length of xy has to be greater, it has to be less or equals than p. So a is going to be p only, which will be proved, which will be true, and b has to be 2p, which is the length, has to be greater than 0. So we're fine with that. So the tricky part here is, and I quote as Dr. Aguirre said, let's take the w that a to the p and b to the 2p, which will be pp, is fine. So that the epsilon of the language in the word of the length has to be 3. It has to be 3p, which, because we're using x, y, and z, has to be greater or equals than p, so we're fine with that rule. Since the length of x and y, which I just explained it right before, x and y are only in the second p. Oh, where it's, I think I created a mistake here. Has to be x and y are among the second p, symbols in w, which means that y can only consist of b's, because as we said before, a h is x, y, and b has to be y. And pumping lemma x and yc is in L. However, when we add an extra y to the x, y, c, because we're saying that here that x, y to 2, x, c, my bad, c should be x, y, c, right? As we're doing that, we're gonna let us know that the result should be a, b, b, A, B, B, B with extra ones, extra B's in it, so it's not regular language. That's why Y consists in K number of B's, where K is greater than 0, but therefore X, Y, X, Y to the times of I in Z should be 2n plus k, which k will not be in the language because k is a positive number, which has to be greater than 0. So that should be remain with the number 4. If you have any question and you're not letting, I'm not being really fluent with my language, just let me know, email me or send me an email or send me a message and I'll be right answer you. So for the number 5, which will be, has to be this ones. Yes, has to be this ones. Oh, see here some scratches of what I did. You're seeing some scratches only. So we're having recognize the following language has all the even numbers of A and most and at least has to be 3 B's. So we know when we have more than 3 B's, we're going to be going to sync as we're going B, B, and B going to sync. And also all our A's has to be even numbers. So our wing as we're going here, it's epsilon or it's empty. So when we're receiving A, we should go to Q3 because it's a start state Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, Q6, and Q7. I forgot to name this one. So you should go to Q4 because as you know it's odd, you should receive another one in order to be a accept state. So you go here. And also if you receive an A and also a B, you should go to the next one because you already know that you already have 1B, so you go to the next level. It's I believe in this one is just it looks like a rocket, but it's go through levels to the all the levels of B. And finally, if you're receiving a 4B, you're all going to sync. Even though you're all having all your A's even numbers, you should be going to sync because you don't have you have more than 3. So we're going to the next one. As you know, if you have any questions, just let me know. We're going to create the EDFA, which all the odds numbers should be 0. And that was kind of tricky, but I think I got it. So as we knowing, our final state should be the odd numbers and the trying to. I hope it's getting better. Okay. So as we know, our final stage should be odd numbers. So when you don't have anything, I'm assuming that it shouldn't be on the start state. When I'm receiving our first 0, we're going to the next one, and we receive 1 0, it's an odd number and should be accepted. If we receive another 0, it should be accepted because it's already one number in 0, and if you have another one in even, it doesn't matter. So if you're receiving a third one, you're having also the state. And if you have a bunch of zeros, all your zeros should be even or odd, but we're passing to the odd numbers. But if we're receiving a 1 first, we already know that we're going to sync because our first number is odd. 1 is odd, so we should go to sync. And if you're receiving more numbers, you should be going to sync because you're not passing the rules. And if we're receiving, let's say we're receiving a 1. Let's say we're having 1, 0, 1, 1. Let's say we have 0, 1, 1. This shouldn't be correct. Will be 0, 1, 1 should go into sync because we already know that our even or odd numbers are not 1. That's why in our even numbers in the start state is giving our even numbers. Our final state is receiving our odd numbers. We already know that 1 is sync. Should go to sync. So we're going to the no, it's not the last one. It's the number 7. This should be this one. Because I'll explain it better now. You're receiving any string that is not in 1, star 0 star. So as we're seeing, this is our 0 star and this is our 1 star, and what we only have to do is connect it to each other, all of them, as I explained before. So because we have our 1 first, that should be our first, and then should be connected to a 0 in order to receive a star 0, and then you should receive a 1 if you're going to sync, because we're following the streak order, which is this one. And finally, um, as I studied, um, all our substate are no longer a substate because it's not in this state. So the sync should be our final state, and that should be it in order to know that our state diagram is going to a not in. And I believe this is the last one, which is it was kind of hard. So what I did first is, let's say that we're having a string which is 1 star union 0. So you have your 1 star, and your 0. So what you should do first is doing your 0 and your star, and then you do the union of them, which is your 1. If you're not in 1, you're going to 0. So I think this is pretty much easy. And finally, what I did is transform my NFA into a DFA, because we already know that the DFA doesn't have epsilons. And as we know, 1, 2, and 3 should be my star state, and I follow my table. Sorry for the the sound and everything. And this is what I did. So as we're 1 and 2 and 3, we should go to 4 if we see a 0, and we'll go to 3 if we receive a 1. And if we go to 4, we already know they're going in sync, because 4 doesn't have anything. And if we're going to 3, we already know that we're going to loop in 3 again if we receive a 1. And we're going in sync because there's nothing on it. And that should be it. Yeah, that should be it. If you receive a 0, you go directly to sync. So that should be it. If you have any question, please I hope I got as fast as I could. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you for having me in your class, and I hope to see you on my next explanation of my tests. Thank you. And also, I just checked my time, and it says it was at 10 a.m. I thought it was 10 p.m. So I'll send you an email to talk about you. Thank you.